Hi there, my name is Corey Reininger, and today I'm going to be discussing with you my library advocacy assignment that I created for Info 5345. So, with this particular assignment, we needed to come up with a library program that would benefit students that library serves, and then also come up with some objectives that the program specifically accomplishes and targets. So, as far as my program goes, it is set in a public high school library setting, and it is aimed for high school students. So, who that library serves, those are high school students, and it is essentially going to be a combination book club and artistic craft organization. So, just to kind of elaborate on that a little bit, how the book club would work is that every month, students would read a book and they would come to the monthly book club and they would discuss the novel, and then they would also go ahead and complete an artistic activity that directly tied to the novel in some capacity. So not only getting them to hone in on their reading skills and to foster the love of reading, but also getting them to flex their creativity muscles a little bit. So, whenever we discuss the objectives of my library program, I think that there are three major objectives. The first one being I want to facilitate conversations about books among students to enhance their literacy development. I think that any age students K through 12 can benefit from reading in their spare time to enhance their literacy capabilities. And so I think that's what my book club does. Second, I want students to tap into their creative abilities to create artistic crafts. And then third, I want to foster a love of reading amongst my students at my high school. And I think that by having these fun activities to do along with each book, and in addition to that, students being able to discuss the books amongst themselves, I think that this program is a great way to accomplish those objectives. So, whenever we discuss the targeted student audience for this particular book club, it is open to any and all students who attend this particular public high school. However, if we're kind of trying to focus in a little bit more on a target audience, a specific target group might be people who want to connect with others over books, students who love to read, or maybe those who just want to start reading more. I think that a book club has a great way of accomplishing both of those. It targets people who are already seasoned pros at reading, but then also just those who are trying to get into reading a little bit more. Um, Also, those who want to belong to an organization on campus, coming out of the virtual learning aspect of, the pandemic era, I think that a lot of students are struggling with ways to become more social and meet others on campus. And so, an organization like this is a great way for students to belong, as this book club will be accepting of all, welcoming of all students. It would be a great opportunity for them to meet others. And then also, last but not least, people who love art might really enjoy this book club because it does allow them an opportunity to flex those creative muscles a little bit. So, some benefits to this program are that it offers students the opportunity to make friends and meet others on their campus. It also fosters the love of independent reading. I think that sometimes the youth of today, they lose sight of reading, and that reading can be fun. And I really hope that this book club puts fun back into reading. That's my one of my ultimate goals. And then last but not least, it gets students picking up books in their spare time. Educators in general, but specifically just librarians, know the importance of reading and the leaps and bounds that it can do in helping a student improve in their reading capabilities just by reading every day, so this is a great way to accomplish that. So, whenever we discuss the budget for my particular book club, I have decided to request $1,500 total. And that breakdown is going to two separate categories. My book budget is $1,100 worth of that. And the way that I see this book budget breaking down is that I would purchase 10 copies of each book listed on the next slide at approximately $12 per copy. And this turns out to be $1,080. I just went ahead and rounded it up 20 more dollars to be 1,100 even. The vendor that I found my books through was just Amazon, so that would be my vendor of choice. But what I was seeing is that some books were a little bit over $12 per copy, some books were a little bit under 12 per copy, but that was pretty much the general consensus was around 12. And then the second half of my budget would come from the supply aspects. So this is where all of the art supplies would be purchased. On a following slide, I will definitely detail a little bit more clearly what are some of the supplies I'm going to be requesting. But as you can see, I listed some on this slide. Some of the supplies would be canvases, fake succulent plants, ceramics, paint, etc. So, specific supplies that are needed. On the left hand side, I went ahead and came up with 9 different copies of books that my book club would be going over. So, you'll see the title listed, you will see the author listed, and then also in parentheses after the title and author, you will see the actual craft, the artistic activity that it is that we would complete. So, for example, for the very first book, you will see that the book's title is The Loneliest Girl in the Universe. It's by an author named Lauren James. And the artistic activity that we would do with that is that we would do a galaxy inspired canvas painting. And so, as you can see, I've laid out what the books are and also the activity that would be completed. And then on the right hand side, you will see a list of more detailed supplies that I will need. In addition to the supplies that were listed on the last slide, you'll see I wrote things like bracelet string, watercolors, jewels, sequins, dowel rods, paint pens, just a bunch of stuff that we can have on stock in order to make these particular crafts and these activities that we're going to do, make them be absolutely amazing. So, the way that I will measure impact through this particular book club is through two different things. First of all, I will be measuring it through personal observations. So, just what I see taking place amongst the students, things that they're enjoying, not enjoying. I can tailor it based on that. And then also, I will be giving out student surveys and asking them questions about ways that the book club could improve. What is it that you really enjoy about the club? How could we make it better? Because again, this library program is servicing students. And so I want the students to be happy with the outcome, right? I want them to be happy with the product. So the results from the student surveys would be the primary way that I would measure impact. So on the next 3 slides, you are going to see me talking about 3 different articles that I found that all correspond with research about this topic of book clubs and library programming and things like that. And so I'm going to briefly talk to you about each of those. So, the first article I found is titled Out of School Time Inspiring Engagement in Children's Programming. And this particular article emphasized the importance of library programming for students all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade. It really just harnessed why library programming needs to be a thing. And I think that this book club is a great example of a library program and engages students. The second article that I found is called Comic Moments in the School Library Reflections on an After School Book Club. And this particular article reminds educators that book clubs don't have to always be focused on a traditional novel format. It could be focused on graphic novels and comic books as well. And if you go back and you actually look at my book list, I did incorporate a couple of graphic novels in there because I think that they're a great way to engage students, and students really enjoy reading graphic novels. Lastly, the third article that I found is titled Engaging Students in Recreational Reading Through Book Clubs. And this particular article talks to educators and librarians and reminds them why we do book clubs, period, which is to foster a love of reading amongst students, right? So we want this to be something that's fun. We want this to be something that's not a drag. This is outside of the normal school day. Students are coming to this in their spare time. So let's make it as fun as we possibly can and get them to love reading and to realize how valuable reading can actually be. So, these are the references that I have for my articles. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my library program today.